Hello everyone, today I'm going to tell you a true story that happened to me during my university years while I was involved in theater. I never used to believe in such things in life, but one can experience anything and gain some experiences in life. So, I wanted to share this experience with you. I studied at university in Istanbul and had been interested in theater and the world of performance since I was a child. I learned about such an activity at university and joined this group through my close friend Hassan. I started with supporting roles at first, sometimes carrying props, sometimes cleaning up the area, and I never minded doing any of those. Our group of friends was great. We helped each other, worked together wherever we found ourselves. As time passed, our theater started to make money. Thanks to my friends, they trusted my math skills, so I would collect the income and manage the expenses. We often performed in our own clothes on stage, and if there were any different costumes needed, we would find them at thrift stores or second-hand markets. One day, I needed to portray a homeless character, and I found some old shabby clothes, but they didn't reflect the realism I wanted. I had in mind a jacket like in old Turkish movies, checkered with edges worn out, maybe even torn. I asked around among my friends, but couldn't find it. I had to go and find it at a thrift store or second-hand market. The next day, I went out looking, checked a few places, but couldn't find what I had in mind. I stepped into one more shop, which wasn't our usual choice as the clothes there weren't usually good. Among the piles, I saw the jacket I wanted, quite old, and the edges seemed like they could easily come off, just as I needed for the realism in the play. I tried it on, and when I tried to embody the character and see how I could stand, its stance pleased me a lot. Since it hadn't been sold for a long time, the seller gave it to me for a good price. I immediately bought it and went home, feeling very excited. It had a bit of a moldy smell, but I didn't wash it, thinking it would lose its authenticity. My roommate Farouk wasn't part of the theater group, but he was very supportive. He would help me with my lines and rehearsals at home. He had a girlfriend named Esem who would sometimes come over, watch me, and give me feedback. As I was trying on the jacket, Farouk and Esem arrived. They really liked the jacket and the style, congratulating me for finding exactly what I was looking for, as I had told them about it before. They were going to watch a series, so they left. As I went to my room, I got some scissors and made some of the pink threads come out from different places. I put my hands in the jacket pockets, and they were all empty. At one point, where my pocket ended, I noticed a bulge, small but hard, not very noticeable because it was stuck between the buttons. I tried to open it, and it was well hidden. Without damaging the seams much, I managed to undo them. After a little effort, I put my hand into the open hole, and I felt something like a plastic bag, preserving something in a triangular shape, like the amulet my grandfather used to wear around his neck when I was a child. As I looked around, the plastic bag first tore due to age, revealing a fabric-covered item inside. I noticed that the edges were neatly stitched. When I examined the seams, they suddenly opened, and some papers fell out. They were folded into small pieces, although they were originally long. When I unfolded them, I saw some shapes drawn resembling human figures and names written repeatedly one below the other. As I pondered, what a strange amulet this is. When I went to my room, the door suddenly closed quickly, and I thought I lost my mind. I gathered the papers and scattered items, put them into a small envelope, and placed it in the drawer of my desk. Then, I went inside. I wanted to watch TV with them, but I felt so overwhelmed that I just went to bed and fell asleep. I woke up at night to go to the bathroom, and the TV was still on with voices coming from inside. When I got to the bathroom, the light was on but the door was open. I thought someone must have forgotten to close it, and as I attempted to enter, I noticed someone inside doing something. Perhaps it's my wife or girlfriend, I thought, and just as I was about to retreat so as not to disturb them, I unintentionally realized that it was Farouk inside. He was doing something strange on his own, sticking his hand into the toilet, pulling something out, and putting it into his mouth. I watched in horror as he did this. At one point, he turned to me and offered me the filth in his hand, saying, "Join me if you open your stomach." I wanted to step back and get away from there, but as I took a step, I bumped into someone. When I turned around to see who it was, Farouk was behind me. Seeing him, I was nearly scared to death. He got scared too and ran away. Yesem came from behind and asked what happened, but I couldn't speak due to fear. Farouk said to me, "What happened, buddy? You scared me too," but I was trying to talk and just gibbering. I was trying to explain what happened, like when did you come here and stuff, but I couldn't look towards the bathroom. Farouk noticed that I couldn't look there and checked the bathroom himself. Then he turned to me and said something happened here. I still couldn't answer. Yesem took my arm and led me to sit down, and Farouk brought me some water. When he handed me the glass, I involuntarily looked at his hand, thinking he was the one who had just put his hand in the toilet, but I had hallucinated. After a while, I came to my senses. The next day, we started rehearsals at school, and everyone admired my jacket. When rehearsals started, I started to feel a little bad. I felt dizzy, sat down for a while to rest, but it felt like there was a huge weight on my shoulders. The worst part was that I started forgetting my lines. When my friends saw me like this, they told me to go home. Maybe going home was the best thing to do. As I walked home from the theater, I felt like someone was talking to me in my ear, giving me directives. I passed by a mosque, and I saw the old Haji uncles coming out onto the street. What the voice in my ear wanted from me was to approach them and tell them what they were doing was nonsense. I couldn't stop myself, and I did what the voice said. I shouted at the uncles, "Why are you coming here and doing such nonsense prayers?" Some got angry, some came at me, and I barely escaped from there. I was the grandson of a pilgrim. I didn't know about these things, but I have respect for religious people. I scolded myself for how I could do such a thing. When I got home, I lay down on my bed and fell asleep due to the effect of what had happened. At one point, I woke up to a sound. The sound was coming from somewhere in my room. I raised my head from the pillow and looked around, but there was nothing visible. Then I realized that the sound was coming from the drawer. As I got up and took a step towards the drawer, I heard a crackling sound. When I opened the drawer, I saw that the envelope inside was on fire. I immediately grabbed it from the unburned end and rushed to the kitchen sink. The fire had reached my hand, and I screamed a little, but I kept running without letting it go. When I entered the kitchen, I quickly threw the envelope into the sink to extinguish it, and I turned on the water. Farouk and Yesem rushed into the kitchen behind me. I was opening the faucet more to make sure the burning envelope was extinguished. Both of them were looking at me strangely. Farouk leaned his head towards the sink and said, "Dude, what did you do?" I replied, "I didn't do anything, Farouk bro." The envelope caught fire by itself inside the drawer. It was burning when I opened the drawer, so I grabbed it and threw it here immediately. Farouk and Yesem looked at each other, and suddenly Farouk understood. "So, the thing that caught fire here is your theater's money. Look," he said. When I turned my head towards the sink, I couldn't believe my eyes. While I was looking at another envelope that had caught fire, I didn't realize that the burning envelope had rendered all the theater's money unusable. Farouk said, "Okay bro, what's this match doing here?" What Farouk, neither I nor my other friends smoked or used matches for anything other than lighting the stove. Its place was on top of the stove's vertical glass cover. Farouk put his hand into the sink and pulled something out. It was a burnt matchstick. He looked at me and said, "So who lit this match, dude?" At that moment, I couldn't say anything. I tried to say something, but I was babbling nonsense. Yesem understood my state and took my arm, leading me to the living room where they were watching a series. They sat me down on the couch and gave me some water. Farouk sat in front of me and asked me to start from the beginning and tell them what happened. I told him that I had come from rehearsal, fell asleep, woke up to a sound, and saw that it was the burning envelope inside the drawer. I then quickly threw it into the sink and said, "You guys came right after." Farouk looked at me and said, "First of all, you say you woke up to a sound, but if something is burning, wouldn't it make noise and smoke? Especially, how could you not smell it, being so close to this drawer? Secondly, a burning object emits light. You would definitely notice this light when you raised your head, but you didn't see it. Thirdly, you said you grabbed it and threw it into the sink, so why was there a matchstick on the kitchen counter, and especially why was one burned and inside the sink?" He was so right that I couldn't say anything. Yesem looked at Farouk and said, "Okay, that's enough, stop pushing him." Farouk stopped. I was thinking about what had just happened, but I couldn't understand why it happened like that. Yesem was kind enough to stay the night and talk to me until morning. She said it was due to exhaustion and advised me to take a break from the theater for a while. As I regained my senses, I was worried about the money. I couldn't remember how I would replace all that money. But considering what had happened, I kept picking up the envelope and taking it to the sink to burn it repeatedly. I kept asking myself, but why did I do this? In the early hours of the morning, I lay down on my bed and tried to sleep. Once again, the voice inside my head started talking, saying, "You burned it so beautifully, you burned it so well. Just like you'll burn yourself soon, you burned it so beautifully." I lifted my head from the pillow and looked around. I wondered if it was Farouk, but the voice kept talking. Go to the mosque, throw mud, throw stones at the people coming out," it said. I covered my ears with my hands and said, "No, no." The voice became more intense, saying, "Get up, go, you want this too, you're curious about this fun too." When I entered the kitchen, I quickly threw the envelope into the sink and turned on the water to extinguish it. Farouk and Yesem came running into the kitchen behind me. I was opening the tap even more to help the envelope extinguish. Both of them were looking at me strangely. Farouk leaned over the sink and said, "Dude, what did you do?" I replied, "I didn't do anything, Farouk bro." The envelope caught fire on its own in the drawer. When I opened the drawer, it was burning, so I quickly threw it here. Farouk and Yesem looked at each other, and suddenly Farouk caught fire, meaning the envelope had suddenly caught fire on its own in the drawer, and he said, "So, did you see it and throw it here?" I said, "Yes bro, am I going to lie?" Farouk said, "Dude, the burning thing is your theater money, look." I couldn't believe my eyes when I looked inside the sink, thinking it was another envelope that caught fire, but the burning envelope had rendered all the money we had put in it unusable. Farouk said, "Okay dude, what is this match doing here?" Neither Farouk, nor I, nor our other friends smoked or used matches for anything other than lighting the stove. Its place was on top of the vertically standing glass cover of the stove. Farouk reached into the sink and pulled something out. It was a burnt matchstick. Farouk looked at me and said, "So, who lit this match, buddy?" At that moment, I couldn't say anything. I was trying to say something, but I was talking nonsense. Yesem understood my condition and took my arm, leading me to the living room where they had opened a series. They sat me down on the couch and gave me some water. Farouk sat in front of me and said, "Tell me from the beginning what happened." I told him that I came from rehearsal, fell asleep, woke up to a sound, and saw that it was the envelope burning in the drawer. Then I picked it up and quickly threw it into the sink, and then you guys came, I said. Farouk replied, "First of all, you say you woke up to a sound, but doesn't something burning make noise and smoke? Especially, how did you not smell it from this drawer so close to you? Second, something burning emits light. When you raised your head, you would have definitely noticed this light in your room, but you didn't see it. Third, you said you picked it up and threw it into the sink, so what was the matchbox doing on the kitchen counter, especially one of them, burnt like, inside the sink?" He was so right that I couldn't say anything. Yesem looked at Farouk and said, "Okay, that's enough, don't push it anymore," and Farouk fell silent. I was thinking about what had just happened, but I couldn't understand why it had happened. Thank goodness, Yesem didn't leave that night and stayed with us until morning, talking to me. She told me that it was due to fatigue and advised me to take a break from the theater for a while. When I came to myself, I was worried about how I would replace the money. But looking at what had happened, I couldn't remember. But given what had happened, I kept picking up the envelope and burning it constantly. I kept asking myself, but why did I do this? Towards dawn, I lay down in bed and tried to sleep. Once again, the voice in my head started talking, saying, "You burned it so well, you burned it very well. Just like you're going to burn yourself soon, you burned it very well." I lifted my head from the pillow and looked around. I wondered if it was Farouk, but the voice kept talking. Go to the mosque, throw mud at the people coming out, throw stones," it said. I covered my hands and ears and said, "No, no." The voice became more intense, saying, "Get up, Come on, you want this too, you're curious about this fun too. I recounted everything to Uncle Seraph from the beginning to the smallest detail. He listened carefully and said, "Wait, son, I think I understand the situation." Then he took an old-fashioned push-button phone out of his pocket and made a call. After a while, he said to me, "Get up, come with me, son," and we went to another uncle's house. That uncle and Uncle Seraph wanted to see the jacket I found and the amulet I took off. I took them to our house. As we entered, both of them were reciting prayers. The old man who had found the amulet kept muttering, "Shame on it, why would one person do this to another?" Finally, they told me what had happened. They had put a curse on the previous owner of this jacket. Strange. I wonder what he had been through. Then when that jacket came into my hands, I broke the amulet and subjected myself to the curse. Thank goodness, they saved me from those troubles. I used that jacket to play games, and thankfully, I never experienced such things again. I didn't leave Uncle Seraph's side until he passed away. He loved me like his own son. Without him, maybe I couldn't have written these to you. I went to the mosque and apologized to the congregation for what I had done. Since Uncle Seraph had already told them what happened, they welcomed me with understanding. I washed and cleaned the walls of the mosque that I had dirted. My friends couldn't believe what they heard when they found out. I introduced them to Uncle Seraph, and we never left him alone. I compensated for the theater's lost money by working as a waiter in a cafe. Despite Uncle Seraph's insistence, I didn't accept the money he offered.
Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe.